Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday night right here on the portal and everywhere else, I'm sure. Except, and if you're in Australia, then it's Saturday. But you know how it goes. Little news brief right off the bat. Cade will not be able to join us on Saturday. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make that happen. So, we'll just keep throwing it down the line. And one of these times he's going to be able to make it and we can do it, but not tomorrow. But anyway, that's okay. Now, I really appreciate you guys being here as always. It's always a fantastic pleasure to come on and do these shows. And thank you so much. I was actually watching another show just prior to this, and it was none other than Wes and Tony in their premiere episode of After Dark, where Wes and Tony get together and they talk about things. And tonight's subject was giants, which was really, really interesting. So it was really neat to see Wes and Tony, Wes Germer, of course, of Sasquatch Chronicles, and Tony Merkel of the Confessionals. So they're teaming up and doing a kind of a hybrid show between them. Hey, Nathan Nate, God, that's a great way to start. God bless you, sir. Thank you. So I was over there hanging out watching that, and it's kind of neat. It is only open to the members and stuff, so take that. If you're a member of Sasquatch Chronicles or the Confessionals, you can check out those shows. And what a great time, though. I mean, they're two incredible presenters in their own rights, and lots of information, lots of cool stuff. And they're also opening up for people to jump on with them through, I guess they're using StreamYard is what it looks like. And of course, with StreamYard, you can just say, here's a link. Anybody want to jump in? There's a few shows out there that do that. That's just what they do. They just turn on the mic and throw out a link and see who shows up. And that's, no, I'm not casting aspersions. That's a pretty neat idea. But it was just fun to watch and fun to listen to. Some great information, interesting, thought-provoking stuff. And if you're a member, again, go check it out. I was going to put the link out and say, hey, come on over and check it out. But then I was like, oh, yeah, wait, this is a members-only thing. So I can't do that because if you're not a member, that's kind of open only to members as far as I know. So everyone with a blue wrench should match Nathan's generosity. Wow. That's everybody with a wrench is already given quite a bit. They sit here and mod. Now, granted, we don't have a real rambunctious chat room. We got a wonderful chat room full of amazing people, but if they're ever, and it has happened that some douchebag will show up and they have to flex a little bit. So, it's not for the weak-hearted. So anyway, but I appreciate the gesture. That's very sweet. And thank you to our mods, of course. We have the greatest mods in all of YouTube land. So check it out. Now, right before we get started here, we're obviously going to be getting to the news. We're going to be, Sheldon will be joining us when he can. He's going to be here shortly. Or Longley, I'm not sure exactly when he's going to pull in, but he's going to come as soon as he can and join us here on the show. But I just thought of a Big Boy Portal Nights. What's the big boy? Who's the Big Boy Portal Nights? What does that mean? I appreciate that, Eric. That's very sweet. I appreciate that a bunch. Every little bit helps, of course, because, life is just tough. But it's tough for all of us. So, I appreciate when people are able to, to give. But if you're not, I appreciate that that's okay, too. There's lots of ways to support the show. Like it, recommend it, talk about it in, groups you're in that maybe dealing with this kind of material. If you ever see those things like, hey, what's your favorite podcast? Well, I would appreciate that. Those are all things that go a long way to help out. So, I was going to give you guys a little sneak peek to the next podcast. And I haven't revealed the guest yet. But if you're into the paranormal and if you watch some of the ghost shows, you're going to know this person. So I'm just going to play a random clip. I'm not even sure what part I'm clicking on the sound file here, but I just want to see if any of you recognize this voice. You're going to recognize the name, I'm sure, but just wonder if you'll recognize the voice. Or maybe I'll give it away in the sound here. So here it is. This is the next guest on the podcast, which will be releasing on Monday. So have a listen.
Like, yeah, sometimes when people die, they become ghosts. And I was just like, what? Just completely like mind blown, but not scared, because she presented it in this very just kind of like, sometimes it happens. And so that was really what sparked my interest, was living in that house and the things that happened. And I started reading books on it. And, it was back in the 80s. So my mom would just dump me at the library for hours. And I'd go and, read every book they had on spiritualism and Hans Holzer and you name it. And so it just that interest never really waned. My family was very like new agey and kind of like woo woo, so ghosts and spirits and energy were just something I was really raised around. Mm-hmm. And I was, even like my high school yearbooks, people would call me like the ghost girl and stuff. But yeah, I just never went away. Yeah.
Well, that was very prophetic, because of course you did turn into a lifelong ghost girl.
A life ghost girl.
Yeah, all right. That's the sound file. I haven't seen any correct guests. It's not a singer. It's not a singer that has a ghost show, but it is a person that has a ghost show and has been on several of them. And I guess I will just give it out to you. The next guest on the podcast, which you just listened to, is none other than Amy Bruni of Kindred Spirits, and she was formerly on Ghost Hunters. So Amy Bruni, her and Adam Berry do Kindred Spirits, and she will be my guest, or she was my guest, actually. We did record it, but I'll release that on Monday, so you guys can check it out. If you're not familiar with Kindred Spirits, then, you should probably watch it. It's a good show. I always liked Ghost Hunters and Kindred Spirits, both because I love their approach. I love the way that they do what they do. They just have a fantastic respect. They come at it very even-keeled. Oh, I was just watching her today. Yeah. She was an exceptionally nice person. I've just been really thrilled with some of these, and I love talking to everybody, so don't get me wrong. I'm not in this hero worship thing, but I just think of everybody that's, these celebrities, so to speak, that I've talked to have been wonderful people. They really have been, and she was no exception. A lot of fun to talk to, a really interesting person, very down to earth, and she's got her own podcast, and it's called The Haunted Road as well, so you can check out that on all the podcasting platforms. Yeah, it is a great show. So yeah, Amy Bruni will be the guest on Monday's podcast, so I hope you guys will check it out. That'll be hopefully a good episode. I really enjoyed it, and actually she's she's on a promotion tour because she's promoting her new book, which is actually, not only is it just stories of haunted places, but she includes recipes from some of those actual places. And you're not gonna believe this, but they actually have, I think it was Lizzie Borden's meatloaf recipe in this book. And so there you have it. There you have it. I mean, it's just really cool. They include, so it's like a cookbook, and it's called Food to Die For. And so the whole title is, let me read the book name here. It's Food to Die For, Recipes and Stories from America's Most Legendary Haunted Places. So it's really cool. Not only can you learn a little bit, and it's beautifully done. I did get an advanced digital copy of it, and it's really, really well done. But that'll be available on July 30th if you're interested in that. But just a nice person. I was really excited that we'll be able to, that we were able to have her on. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. So that'll be Monday. I just had to give it out. Just put it out there. Must be an open press conference. Big boy. What is this? Hey, friends, must have fixed the faulty gear. Yeah, I did last time. So the last couple shows, just as a little background, I ended up starting late because I had a lot of trouble with this one piece of equipment. So there was several shows that I had to just sit and troubleshoot and try to figure it out. And finally, last time, which was Wednesday, let me guess, Lizzie Borden took an X. You know what the funny thing, Eric, is? I'll get back to that in a second. So, but I did actually rebuild that install for that program and for that piece of equipment. And now it looks like it's running good, but I'll tell you what, I'm not shutting down anything. I'm leaving everything running because it's working now, and I don't want to dig into it again until after I'm done doing these live shows. The interesting thing, talking about that book and the Lizzie Borden recipe for meatloaf, for the promotional picture that they used in there for the meatloaf, I thought it was kind of hilarious. Actually, it's kind of clever, but it's also it's kind of like, ooh, they took a picture of the meatloaf, the actual meatloaf that they created from their recipe, and then they put an axe in it and took a picture of it. And I'm like, oh man, that sets the stage. Date? What's the date? For the show, or when will she be a guest? It'll be on the podcast, Nathan Nate. So if you're not already a listener of the podcast, they are posted on YouTube and on Rumble. And there will be a video podcast of that I'll release probably as soon as I can next week. But it usually ends up being Thursdays that I release the video podcast. So you can listen to the audio podcast right away on Monday. It does post to YouTube as well as Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all the other platforms out there. But if you want to see the interview happen, then wait till Thursday and check it out here, or I'll announce it on social media when I get it live. But just really cool. Brent, your podcasts are excellent. Thank you, Kitty. I appreciate that. I hope there was no catch-up. There's always catch-up on meatloaf. Come on. So it's okay. I speak fluent kitty cattywack. I knew you meant me. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Nate. I hope you check it out. So anyway, we are going to do a whole bunch of things tonight, as always. We're going to be diving into the news. I've got a few articles pulled up to inform you about the happenings in the world around us. And then what else we're going to do? I don't know. I've got a few things up that we can dig into. But, of course, we are going to end up eventually going into the cryptids. So, all right, Rachel gets it right. Ha, ha, ha. What did Rachel say? What is so funny? Annie, no ketchup. Jeez. Rachel, what is wrong with you? Meatloaf sounds so tasty. You know, it is an interesting thing, though, right? I just think, well, I don't know. I'd be hesitant to make her meatloaf. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's lovely and delicious, but it's just like, I don't know. There was something so broken there. Something was so broken there. What if it was the meatloaf that did it? You know, I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe there's something wrong with that meatloaf. Anyway, wow, what kind of meat does she recommend? Maybe with some fine Chianti. Yeah. Did Hannibal Lecter do that in the show? Yeah. Maybe. You can watch the terns nesting. Anyway, might summon her ghost. You know, that was actually something that we got into discussing throughout the course of this interview, was the use of some of these recipes as potentially trigger objects, you know, because you think of trigger objects. Sometimes trigger objects are really distastefully used in paranormal investigating. And I'm speaking of, oh, he hung himself in the attic. Well, let's tie a rope on the rafters in the attic. It's like, oh, God, you know, really? That's what you want to represent, to try to inspire communication? It's like, no. Hey, John Temperin, how you doing? So what if, though, as a trigger object, you were to go into the space and create one of the family recipes? I mean, I would imagine, you know, and this is what Amy said, too. It's like, imagine those sights and the smells and you know, the things that may inspire that you know, any lingering spirits to go, oh, the meatloaf, you know, or whatever. I don't know. Just a thought, but very interesting. So anyway, but let's get into the news, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time to inform you about the happenings in the world that we love, which is the paranormal world. And some of it's even paranormal. Some of it's just unusual and interesting, but it's still the news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Portal News. And as always, I'll be your anchor here on the Paranormal Portal News Desk. Deb says, if you ever started making a recipe and then realized it was, where was it? I got to see what Deb said. Have you ever started fixing some food and then realized it was a favorite of someone who passed? Yeah, you know what? I had a great-grandfather. His name was Grandpa Bailey. And just a fantastic person, just very nice and kind and very down to earth. But he loved his favorite part of a meal. He loved like meat and taters, that kind of thing. But his favorite part of a meal was after he got the food eaten, you'd have this like gravy and taters mess on the plate. He loved to take like a bun or a piece of bread and sop that up. And so every time I eat something with gravy, if I got any room left at the end, I grab a piece of bread and sop it up and just kind of in his memory, you know. So yeah, he just loved that part of the meal. That was his favorite. And I don't blame him. It's pretty tasty, especially if you get those fresh oven baked rolls and then you dip it in that gravy. Forget about it. Oh God. It sucks being on a diet. I'm just gonna say that now. Oof. But because I'm hungry. Now I'm hungry. Do you think they might be influencing you? Well, it's a good point. Could they be influencing our choice of things to make? Yeah, could be. Could be. I've got a few. There's one. Well, this is not even related, but the one recipe that I would love to have gotten from my grandmother. She was really an amazing cook, but she would make this homemade potato soup, and it was like a potato chowder. I kept asking her, Grandma, how do you make this? What do you put into it? She goes, I don't know, a little of this, a little of that. She never wrote it down. She just kind of made it, and she'd whip it up, and it was amazing. And she passed away. Actually, she had dementia first, but then she passed away, and I was like, Mom, did you ever know her recipe? And Mom goes, no, she never had a recipe for it. And I was like, oh, it just breaks my heart because it was so amazing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, Annie. It's tough being on diets. But anyway, let's get to the news and see if we can spark other interest than our hunger. And the first thing I'd like to point out is throughout the course of the show, we utilize several sites that have amazing articles. And I just encourage you guys, whenever you hear me mention a site, please check out these sites. Please support what they're doing, because these sites are amazing and your traffic equals revenue for them to keep the lights on. It's not cheap to host a popular site. It's really not. So I would appreciate it. It would go a long way. And that way I won't have to find new sites in case these sites go down, because I love these sites. They're amazing. They really do incredible work. So the first site we're going to be utilizing throughout the course of tonight's show on the news here is unexplained-mysteries.com. And here you go. This is it's from the UFO Phenomena Files, and I'm curious because it's a brand new article. But here you go. I imagine it's probably going to be more of that cover up, but see what you guys think. Here it is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Is Pentagon publishes analysis of 1947 Roswell UFO crash debris. So now they're releasing their analysis of it. Well, I'm pretty sure that whatever they tested or are releasing was not the material that they had, because the material they had was just incredibly dynamic. If you hear some witness testimonies, I've heard them from Donald Raymond Schmidt, who was one of J. Allen Hynek's researchers And they looked into this ad nauseum and found an incredible amount of information about what happened and about the cover-up that happened. And when he describes those metamaterials, it's freaking bizarre. So let's see what this says, because I'm sure this is going to be a lot of the fluffy crap that would try to discredit that it was a UFO. So let's see what it says. The sample that many had believed was extraterrestrial in origin had been sent to a lab for analysis. Back in 2022, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, the Pentagon's UFO Investigation Office, sent a sample of unidentified material to Oak Ridge National Laboratory. The material was of particular interest to the UFO community because it was allegedly a piece of debris from the object that crashed near Roswell, New Mexico, back in 1947. Now, the results of the lab's analysis have finally been published. Took them a while. This specimen has been publicly alleged to be a component recovered from the crashed extraterrestrial vehicle in 1947 and purportedly exhibits extraordinary properties such as functioning as a terahertz waveguide to generate anti-gravity capabilities, AARO wrote in a press release. Considering all available evidence, AARO assesses that this specimen is likely a test object, a manufacturing product or byproduct, or a material component of aerospace performance studies to evaluate the properties of magnesium alloys. In other words, there's nothing about it that suggests it has extraterrestrial origins. Because the government tested it. You got to know that they're honest. Although the origin, chain of custody, and ultimate purpose of this specimen remain unclear, a modern and robust analysis of its chemical and structural composition and properties does not indicate that its origin is non-terrestrial, Oak Ridge Laboratory wrote in its report. Nor do the data indicate that the material examined ever had the pure single crystalline bismuth layer that could possibly have acted as a terahertz waveguide. So, while the findings don't necessarily rule out the possibility that the material is from an extraterrestrial spacecraft as things stand, there is no evidence to suggest it is either. Well, there you go, because the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office says so. There you go. I'm sure they're non-biased, they're non-partisan, and they probably have all the information. They probably don't. I think this is so compartmentalized. Especially when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's all buried in black projects. I'm pretty sure. I don't doubt that there is plenty of people with direct knowledge of this stuff in Washington and in our government and in the military. But I just think it's probably career suicide to say, yeah, there's UFOs, unless you're already retired and you just don't care. There's been plenty of people that have an incredible pedigree that have come out and said, look, they're out there. These are people with insider direct knowledge, and Stephen Greer's done an amazing job finding several of them, and I think there is information that's being covered up, and I don't think whatever was tested, we can take it at its face value. And that's sad. I'd love to be able to believe in these things, in this kind of information, in this resolution. But I just can't. We just don't have the track record to buy into, well, they're being honest. Of course they're being honest. Well, it's like, no, they're probably not. So, I mean, there's just way too much history to just accept these things at face value. I mean, if it was done by an independent laboratory that somebody had, I pocketed this. My grandfather pocketed this in Roswell and buried it, and he gave it to me on his deathbed and said, this is from the UFO. And then they had it blind tested by a lab. Then that would be more interesting. But if it was already sent out by a government agency to a lab, I'm just not there. I wish I could be. I wish that we could believe that they had our best interest and some transparency in mind, but I just don't think they do. And there may be what they feel is legitimate reasons for that. I'm not saying it's all just screw people, love ourselves, but whatever those reasons are, I don't think that justifies burying what could be incredible leaps in technological advancement that could help the whole world. From medicines to agriculture to more safe vehicles, better construction, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the ramifications of exposing hidden technologies could be huge for everybody. So, but that just doesn't seem to be on the agenda. So anyway, that's my take on it. I don't like feeling that way. I really don't. I really, really would love that we lived in a world where we could just believe this stuff, but I just don't think we can. So, all right, that's the first article tonight. Let's dig into the next one because there's more. The next article tonight up on the news is also from unexplained-mystery.com. This one is kind of funny. You got to get pretty thirsty for this to get to be a good idea. I don't know. I guess I thank God I've never been this thirsty. And maybe if you get to the point where it's like, geez, I'm probably going to die here if I don't take care of this, then maybe it becomes an option. But I don't know. What do you guys think? From unexplained-mysteries.com comes this gem. Real life Dune still suit can turn urine into drinkable water. Now, I know there's some people that are, I guess, kind of a little out there that do propagate the idea of drinking their own urine for some reasons that I don't pretend to understand. And I don't know. I just want it out. I don't want to put it back in. And I don't care what you run it through. In my mind, that's always going to be piss. So, I don't know. Again, if you're right on the edge of like, God, I'm dying, then maybe that becomes a beverage. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that, guys? All right, well, let's dive into this groundbreaking story because, by God, I guess if you're out in space, and that's like you can't carry gallons of water with you, okay, well, then maybe it makes sense. But here it is. Scientists have developed a new type of spacesuit that can turn an astronaut's urine into clean, drinkable water. I just don't know what does that even taste like? I don't even know what regular urine tastes like, but I'm pretty sure it's not like Mountain Spring going on here. Anyway, in Frank Herbert's Dune and its various adaptations, what is it, Freeman or Fremen? Fremen people? I don't know if that's Freeman or Fremen. People who reside on the planet's Arrakis wear special still suits capable of converting sweat and urine into drinkable water. Well, there you go. Now scientists have created a spacesuit that is capable of doing much the same thing, bringing what was once a fantastical science fiction concept into the real world. At present, wastewater aboard the International Space Station is recycled, but when astronauts are out on a spacewalk, something that can take several hours, they have to wear adult diapers. Oh, I did not know that. You'd think they would catheter or something. I don't know. Anyway, this is obviously not ideal, and many astronauts restrict their food and fluid intake before actually embarking on a spacewalk in order to avoid having the need to go while outside. Yeah, because nobody wants to hang out in space with a wet diaper. I mean, my God, there's a reason babies cry when that happens. It doesn't feel good. That's not good. It's not good to hang out with. I mean, wet underwear sucks. So I can't imagine what a couple pounds of pee infused a diaper would feel like. But I'm sure it's pretty unpleasant. With the new still suit, however, this wouldn't be anywhere near as much of a problem. Designed by researchers at Cornell University, the new suit, made from multiple layers of flexible fabric, uses specially designed collection mechanisms lined with polyester microfibers. That sounds wonderful. The urine is then passed through a filtration system, which turns it into drinkable water within minutes, fresh from the tap. You're just getting it right from the tap, folks. I don't even know. Although the system adds a bit of extra weight, it would enable astronauts to spend much longer outside during particularly lengthy spacewalks. We believe that the increased comfort and resource efficiency provided by the system will more than make up for the slightly increasing bulk, the study author wrote. And maybe they're right, but again, I just don't ever fancy drinking my own pee. It's just like, I'm good. But I also, have bottles of this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does that sound like something you'd like to dig into? I don't know. What do you mean, Sheldon? Sheldon, what are you doing here? Why are you chatting, Sheldon? I sent you the link. Anyway, maybe he's just getting home. Oh, you need a link again. Oh, okay. Well, geez. I'm not even sure where I found it again. Let me see if I can find it again. It's on your Facebook Messenger. Where the hell is it? No, it's not there. It's here. All right, I'm resending the link, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. Paste. There you go. Let me know if that works. It says sending. I don't know why my Facebook is so funky. There it goes. Okay, he's seen it. All right. Hopefully that works. And we'll get Sheldon's take on this. But when it comes to drinking your own pee, I think Sheldon would probably have some good opinion on this. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't have a great opinion on drinking piss. It's not what I'm adept to,
You don't got a hankering for a little asparagus water?
Oh God! Don't say that.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Again, there are people that advocate, in survival situations, but
in survival situations, I'm eating a lot of pineapple. Then,
well, yeah, you better be in some place where pineapples grow. No pee for me. I'm a true earthling. Amen, SoCal. Amen. Yeah, it's asparagus water. Sorry.
Oh God.
I just thought of that. It's like,
I have the problem where I immediately picture whatever's said.
You've got this visual pictures going on. Well, I was thinking what happened. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about it because if they got to poop, they're going to be dealing with that. They're not sucking that into a filter.
I'm not eating poop.
I'm just talking about astronauts. They made these new suits where it's like the Dune suits, apparently. Like they suck in all the moisture, urine and your sweat and everything, and apparently filters it. And then you can have it again in minutes.
Have you ever had those weird dreams where you're forced to eat poop?
No, what? No. No.
Yeah, me neither, guys. Yeah. Wow, that's weird. That's a weird dream.
It's weird you'd even bring that up. I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I never have had a dream where I ate poop. You've ever had. What the hell, dude? All right. Well, there you go. That's news you might not have heard before, but there it is. There's more. Is there more? No, that's it. That's the whole thing. Okay. So there you go. Maybe they'll have them ready for Halloween. You could wear a still suit. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't even know what to think of crap like that, but that's how it rolls here. All right, so let me get to the next article. Aren't you glad you're in time for the news?
God, the worst time to be on time. Oh man, I should have waited a little longer.
Come on now, you got to admit. Here's some good news though, if you're into the idea of.
Stop it, Rachel.
What did Rachel say?
Sheldon asking the hard or semi-solid questions. Stop!
I swear I chewed that corn.
Stop!
It's so disturbing. It's so disturbing. Don't you just miss this, Sheldon, when you miss a night?
I should take more weekends off.
There's Nathan Nate. Sheldon's here, so here's another cue to strike again. God bless you, Nate. Aileen says I might puke. Sorry about that. Soft serve questions, Chucky. What the hell? Don't get nutty about it.
Oh, come on.
That is kind of a modern mystery, though. How do they get back together? Like, you know, I'm sorry.
What?
Well, the peanuts. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, that's actually a interesting question.
apparently they reconstitute somewhere in our digestion tract. I don't know how it happens.
I'm upset because it's me this time that brought up poop.
So Cal says one doesn't really eat corn. One mostly just borrows it.
And you give it back to the earth.
Must have got in the bathroom like a real person. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. All right. Well, we're going to go to another article. This one has to do with paleontology, believe it or not, but it's kind of exciting news. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for Jurassic Park. You know, like as long as it's safe and I'm nowhere near it, that's pretty cool. I'd like to see what those dinosaurs look like, what they did. You know, I mean, we've got a lot of recreations and ideas from the scientific minds out there, but you know, it'd be kind of neat to just be able to see, like, oh, that's enormous, that's really powerful, whatever. But there is a big effort right now to reintroduce mammoths to the world, and I think that's pretty cool.
Wow.
You know, because like African elephants are enormous, they are just monstrously huge.
Yep.
But mammoths would be like almost. I mean, I don't know how much bigger, but they'd be quite a bit bigger by far, and just really incredibly majestic beings. And wouldn't it be neat if we could see them wandering, you know, on the plains somewhere again? So there is an effort to do that. Now, in recent news from unexplained-mysteries.com comes a paleontology breakthrough. And here we go. This is breakthrough as mammoth chromosomes found preserved in ice. There you go, folks. It's getting closer. The discovery brings the idea that de-extincting the woolly mammoth one step closer to reality. De-extinction might seem like science fiction right now, but over the next few years, we could see the very first ever extinct animals, such as the thylacine mammoth or dodo, being brought back to life. Now a new discovery in the Siberian permafrost has made this eventuality seem closer than ever. Dating back 52,000 years, the remains have been described as a new type of fossil owing to the fact that they exhibit a level of preservation so great that the animal's chromosomes are still intact. Essentially, a section of frozen mammoth skin, this beef jerky, even has long tufts of hair in it. Such an immaculate level of preservation is unusual because mammoth remains are usually damaged due to repeated thawing and freezing over thousands of years. This example, however, was thought to have been flash frozen and never once thawed out. The variants that you're able to capture with this mammoth genome is opening a new door for comparison between species, said study co-author Cynthia Perez Estrada. Just having that footprint of the chromatin organization in three-dimensional space is incredible. And there's the skin right there. 52,000-year-old scrap of woolly mammoth skin reveals 3D shape of its DNA for the first time ever.
Wow.
That's
a
pretty
big
cool.
section.
Right. So, I mean, they literally probably have all they need now to start spitting out mammoths. That's pretty
Technically,
awesome.
we have all we need to spit out T-Rexes, too.
I don't know that there's any chromosomes that are recovered. I've heard rumors that somebody had this technique to do to fossils that, oh, look, there's this DNA, but I've never heard that was substantiated in any way.
Oh, there's an article I read many years ago that said that they found a dinosaur bone with the marrow intact inside a T-Rex bone.
I wonder how that would happen, though, because, I mean, the whole idea would be that it would have to be a lot younger because, I mean, the mineralization is what creates fossils, so there's actually no biological material left. It's just calcium and other minerals that replace the biological tissues and create what we understand as fossils. So I don't know. If that's the case, I don't remember hearing about that. On the whole mammoth return, how about no? If you wonder why, go back and watch the original Jurassic Park movies. Yeah, I know, Eric. I know that, but that was Hollywood. I mean, if I mean, we got like, we don't go generally swimming with sharks and stuff, but we got aquariums. We go under this tube and we look up and there's huge sharks swimming around. Not great whites, but there's sharks. And it's pretty magnificent. We got things, like killer whales we've had in captivity and stuff, which I don't agree with. I think if these things are allowed to be, they should be allowed to be, but I think it's really cool. Really cool. Jurassic Park can never happen, and we're talking elephants, not T-Rex. That's true, but I understand the caution. It's like, well, this is an unknown species, and we don't know anything about them. What if they're just horribly territorial, and they'll just, anything moving, they'll just charge at and destroy, because that would be a very strong animal. But anyway,
that sounds like Jurassic Park. Yeah,
it does. I don't think I would, put kids in a car on a track to go see them.
Oh God, yeah.
And then you hire that one guy that's got money problem and he's selling technology, and then everything goes south. Yeah, you remember the guy, the Newman guy from Seinfeld.
The Newman guy. Yeah,
he killed the power because he was trying to smuggle some eggs off or some genetic information. And then he ends up getting his face eaten by a giant dinosaur, which is really kind of poetic, actually. Very. So there you go. We're closer to bringing those back. Yeah, maybe not T-Rexes. I mean, honestly, I still would love to see what they actually look like. I think that'd be cool because there's lots of versions. Some people think they might have had feathers, and maybe they did. I don't know, but I don't know. I think they look pretty awesome. The way that we understand that they may have looked. So anyway, that's news, and all judgment aside, you guys are probably right. Maybe it's a really bad idea. Maybe nature chose them for extinction for any number of reasons. The divine mind knows what it's doing more than we do, and we're screwing with things we shouldn't possibly be doing. But it's all in the course of discovery. Since we can't time travel, this is like the next best thing. At least not that I'm aware of. Anyway,
bring them to us.
bring the history back to us. Yeah, exactly. Just don't do like titanoboas or things like that.
Oh God.
So anyway, that was the article. I have one left on the news tonight, folks. Here's an interesting one. This one comes from Ghosts and Hauntings on unexplained-mysteries.com. And I've not experienced this personally that I know of. I mean, I've woken up with weird scratches, but I mean, they can be from anything. They can be like a toenail that you caught wrong on your leg when you're shifting, or I don't know. In the middle of your back is a little harder to explain, and I believe it's a real phenomena that people experience. But anyway, let's dive into this. This is unexplained-mysteries.com. Woman scratched by ghost during tour of haunted asylum. Aye. Now some people think, I got a lot of thoughts on this kind of stuff because sometimes people get the 3 scratches. Oh, it's mocking the Trinity. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? I mean, are you absolutely positive? What if it didn't quite get the 4th finger on there and only managed to land 3 fingers or something? I don't know. I mean, people insert a lot of their own ideas into this stuff. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not. But to speak with any kind of certainty about that kind of stuff, I think is really bizarre to me. We just don't know enough. But anyway, some people think, well, you've been attacked or you've been tagged, and now it's going to follow you home. Any number of things I've heard as a result of scratches. But let's read what it says. A visitor to one of Australia's most haunted attractions recently got more than she bargained for. Our Iredale Mental Hospital, which is situated in Ararat, southwest Victoria, is considered to be one of the most haunted places in Australia. Or should I say Australia? Making it a popular destination for paranormal enthusiasts. Constructed during the 1860s, wow, that's an old building. The building housed thousands of patients over the years, and it was eventually closed down and converted into a campus of the Melbourne Polytechnic in 2001. Today, the building is often visited by paranormal investigations, and there are also paranormal tours offering visitors the chance to potentially experience something strange within its 19th century walls. Most recently, a woman who had been on a 3-hour tour of the former asylum reported that she had discovered mysterious scratch marks on her back as she didn't believe had been there beforehand. The marks had appeared during a tour of the staff quarters and then got worse as time went on. Yikes. I actually felt like I had a prickle or something on my shirt. My partner had a look and said there were scratches, she wrote, while describing the sensation as weird. I laughed because I thought he was trying to scare me, and then he showed me the photo. After sharing her story on social media, several other people came forward to report similar accounts of being scratched by unseen forces inside the building. Others, meanwhile, maintained that her wounds were either self-inflicted or the result of some type of allergic reaction or flare-up. As things stand, however, no definitive explanation for her injuries has been forthcoming. Why didn't they give us a picture?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to say she was scratched, but if it looks like a scratch, if it's like possibly got blood, then it's probably not an allergic reaction because, Jesus, if you're breaking out in blood, that's like Ebola. That's not an allergy. I don't know. That's crazy. I would have expected some kind of images, but none were forthcoming, folks. So we'll just have to go with that. I'd like to check out this place. It sounds amazing.
Well, no, I am curious though.
Okay.
You said you have thoughts. Like, what do you mean you have thoughts? Like, what kind of thoughts about that whole thing?
Well, I don't think that always these things are negative. I don't think that that's always the case. Now, I don't think that they're not ever negative. I think it depends, but I think spirits have such a limited amount of things they can do, to get people's attention. And maybe they didn't intend on scratching. Maybe they just intended on, on something else, but it resulted in scratches for whatever reason. Maybe they're just really trying to get your attention for something. And, I think people jump right to the negative because, well, I've been scratched. That's an attack. And granted, I think most of us would probably start with that conclusion, but I think we don't understand, especially let's say whatever's lingering there was a possible patient in a mental asylum. They may not be completely there. They might be in some other weird, twisted state still. We just don't know. And so, perhaps that was just their attempt. I mean, my cat doesn't always mean to scratch me, but sometimes I get scratched. It's just, I don't think it's trying to wound me. It's just, it has claws, So I don't know if these things have claws or what. I don't know. I mean, it's tough to say. And it's also tough to say. I mean, like, I've mowed the yard and gotten done and be like, God, I got these, scratches on my arm that I didn't realize I got while I was mowing. I think that, we can sometimes brush up against things. And if, our mind goes somewhere else, we're maybe not totally aware that we got something like that until afterwards. And then, it's just possible that it came from leaning against a door frame and then, turning quickly or something. And maybe just in the moment you didn't really realize it, but then later it's like, oh, something's burning. And so I don't know. I don't think everything is always quite what it seems, I guess, is what I was trying to say.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you're right. I mean, I get scratches accidentally without realizing it all the time. It happens.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it's important that we, debunk things where they can be debunked. But, I mean, in the situations, like, you're getting scratched in the middle of your back where you can't even reach.
Yeah, no, that's a little more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but you're right though. Yeah.
It's tough to jump all the way to a conclusion on something like that because there's any number of ways that you can get scratched or you can have welts raised on you without needing a whole lot of pressure sometimes. It's just sometimes it just happens. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it can't be, and I'm not trying to cast huge doubt on the possibility that it is something dark and negative. It sure could be, but I don't think you can start there. Like, oh, scratch, it's obviously a demon trying to take my soul or something. I mean, it doesn't always have to go quite that far. It's like, well, you got to scratch somehow, but it might not be as nefarious or ill intended as people jump to. But again, there's the people. Oh, you get scratched. That's a demon marking you. And how do you know that? How can you know that? How do you know it's not some desperate soul just, no, don't leave me, and it's more of a desperation thing than it is nefarious and evil. Like, I mean, it's just too many people jumping to those binary conclusions. It's good or it's bad. It's good or it's bad. It's like there's a whole gradient in there that I think people need to really consider. So
yeah, those paranormal experts out there.
Yeah, they're everywhere, and they know because they're experts.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not a big subscriber and all that, but there you have it. You're walking in the dark could be anything. You're right, John. Absolutely. It'll usually burn really bad if it's the demonic. Yeah, that's a lot of people. It could be a demon cat. Yeah, could be. Could be a hell cat. Never know. Never know. Yeah, so I've heard anyway. Yeah, well, there's with demonic stuff, there's a lot of indicators. Certainly scratches can be one of them, but there's a lot of other things that are usually attributed to a true demonic presence, one of which is commonly sulfur or other rotting smell, foul smells, can be huge temperature fluctuations, not just little ones, can be that dark, horrible feeling. There's a lot of things that are hallmarks of what we understand or believe to be true demonic sources. And again, I think in the paranormal, the whole demon thing is just way overused. It's just I just don't think everything is a demon. Now, I would tell you that, again, when there are several people in specific religions that, Jesus, Omar, there are several people in different religions that will tell you that there aren't ghosts, and if you do have experience like that, it could very well be demonic. And I don't know, I don't subscribe to that personally, but to each their own. I don't pretend to know, and I can't speak with any authority on that. So.
I mean, what is your way of kind of determining whether something, because we kind of throw it around a lot, but I mean, when you think of demonic, like that is something pure and just dark and even evil possibly. I mean, how do you distinguish the difference between something demonic where you would even say, yeah, that sounds demonic versus something that's just like, that just sounds something dark, something's dark's in there, not nearly as strong or, not nearly as threatening.
Sure. Well, I would just say, and I don't have a ton of various experiences, but when I have been in the presence of true evil, I've felt it through my whole body. Like, oh, it feels like you're swimming in a foul soup, and the horrible feelings, and all I could attribute that to was the darkness, that horrible twisted darkness. So I honestly believe, and maybe it's just me, I can't speak for other people, but I've always said when you're in the presence of evil, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it through your entire being. Now, that's my take on it because that's my experience, but that may not be everybody's. Maybe it's, something that's, I'm just attuned to. I don't know. But that seems to be pretty common, that people, when they're in the presence of just that dark, evil, twisted, horrible will, you just know it. It just, I don't know. It's like a whole different experience. And it was a horrible experience. It was a horrible experience, and one that I still don't talk about just because it was it was no fun. So And I don't like to focus on that kind of stuff, because yes, I do believe there's evil out there. I think there's dark, horrible things out there, but I choose to focus on the light and the good, and I mean, that's just my take. So does that make any sense?
There's wisdom in that too, because like you're not giving energy to that. You're not giving attention. You're not putting the spotlight on that kind of thing to maybe even draw attention to it.
In a lot of ways, the way that I've done the Paranormal Portal, sure, we talk about we do talk about dark things on the show, but we don't, I don't know, I don't try to give that the power, I mean, it's good to have an understanding. It's good to acknowledge that it's there and to, tell people, look, you need to be careful, but, I choose to try to have a lighter show, a happier show than to focus on that. You know what I mean? It's like going to a let's just use a parable here. Going to church, and if you have a pastor that constantly preaches about hell and devils and sins and how, the devil's going to get you and he's after your soul and stuff, or you go to a different sermon where the guy's talking about this is how you can be a better person. This is how you can improve your world and celebrate the love that is the divine, and this is how you can bring it into the world. I mean, which church do you want to attend? Because I want to go to the one where I'm feeling good, so that's kind of why exactly. Chris says, sometimes we get gifts we didn't ask for. You're absolutely right. But that's why we like to have fun on the show. I mean, this is real and it's amazing and sometimes horrifying, sometimes horrible, but I think, it's the whole two wolves parable, the Indian chief talking to his grandson about how two wolves live inside of you. And the kid's like, well, which one wins? It's like, whichever one you feed, so. Yep. That's true. I think that's very powerful words, and a very powerful wisdom. So I try to feed that here. I almost think it's like anything you focus on bad, it's going to be bad. If you focus on the good, then the bad can't hurt you as much. You're absolutely right, Jared. I really believe in that. I believe that, there is a huge, they always say faith, have faith. Well, faith is knowing that you are divinely protected, or, in the case of spiritual faith, you're divinely protected or you're protected, and these things can't hurt you. And faith is powerful, very, very, very powerful. Mm-hmm. So you have to stay on the positive side. God wants you happy. No worries. Exactly. And so, yet certainly, we visit the dark stuff here on the show, but we don't hopefully give it power.
Yeah.
The course of these shows is never to make people afraid, but make the course is to make people as informed as I can. Informed is okay. Afraid is not okay. So,
yes.
All right. So anyway, that's kind of a really roundabout way. I don't know I hope I answered the questions, but
I don't remember what I asked.
How do you know? You said, how do you know? How do I know if it's dark or evil?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. No, yeah.
So that's how you know, in my opinion. But I think when you're really around something horrible and dark, you know it. And the best thing you can do is just don't go there. Don't go there.
People say, follow your gut.
Yeah, exactly. Trust your intuition. That's what I always think.
Right.
You got that inner voice for a reason. That snapping plastic. All right. What time do we got? Oh, it's already 8. Wow.
Oh, my Lanta. Feels like I just got here.
Like we have a lot more power than people think we do with our own positive thought. Absolutely we do. Absolutely. We manifest our reality. I believe that wholeheartedly. And part of that is manifesting your faith, and your faith becomes strong.
There's even a science experiment. We do affect our reality just by looking at it and observing it.
That's true. But, and what you observe is your filter. That's your filter. So you take in what you're observing. Mr. David Barnes, good to see you, brother. Going to sleep, but I'm still listening. Well, good. We'll tuck you in. So, tucked in by the portal. It's funny from that movie Hancock when he's tucking that drunk guy into bed. He's like being tucked in by Hancock.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was hilarious. That was a good movie. I like that movie. All right. Suck the light right out of you. Yeah, you're right. I remember I was really angry at work. I was going to blow up, and then there was a manager there. Suddenly the anger left me like a heavy blanket lifting off my shoulders and disappeared. Oh, that's good. I'm glad. Yeah. I mean, God knows, working is always a challenge anyway, because, if any of us had our druthers, we wouldn't be spending a large portion of our life in a place where we had to perform a function. But we do. It's how we get by. But, we do manifest our experiences. And even as horrible as things can get, and you always have the power to, to not spill that out into the world, Positive affirmations are important. You're right, Chucky. They absolutely are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, absolutely, given the time, I think we're going to head right to the cryptids. What do you say?
Does seem like it is that time.
It usually is. I usually do the first half hour in the news and then the next half hour in another article and then the cryptids. But we're
skipping right to the cryptids.
We're going right to the cryptids, folks. We're going right there. So I hope you all are ready because it is time to close out the news. God, I still have the news window open. I just realized that. It was like an hour of news. Didn't mean it to be an hour of news, but let's get back to the rest of the show. You got it, David. We tucked you in. Naughty night. All right. We did it. There we go. Now we're back on the real screens, not just the new screens. Yeah, I was just sitting there flapping my lips, and I look up and I was like, oh. We're still in the news segment. Sorry about that. But hopefully it was good conversation. Anyway, do you know what scares me more than evil? My own mind? Evil? My own mind. I feel like anyone that's left, their own devices can be a problem. How do you guys feel about that?
The shopping cart test.
What does that mean? Oh, do you put the carts away kind of thing or what?
Yes, there's no social repercussions for putting the carts away. Do you do it or not? If you don't do it, it can signify that you're a bad person.
Or very self-absorbed. Yeah, I always put them away.
I do too. I put other people's away too.
Wow, you're a better person than I am. I just dodge everyone else's, but I just I make sure I took care of my own business. No. I'm sorry if I offended you though. Oh, what? I don't know what happened. Oh, I was just checking the chat. Thinking deep today. Yeah, absolutely. I good thought. Maybe not. Seems a lot know what it is before they go to that place, Rachel. I don't know what that means, Jaron. Rachel said, Jaron, the only way to be certain, if someone who didn't know what the house history was at all and felt that dark feeling, has that happened? Oh, yeah. Good point. Yeah, because when you go into investigations or you go to a place or whatever, I mean, I think it's important to know the history, but I also think it's important to go in with an open mind because just because a place has a history doesn't mean that that's what is still there. I mean, granted, in some places there's been horrible tragedies and there's probably a pretty impressive imprint of that, but it came up on the discussion I had with Amy Bruni, is that, and it was a good point. She's like, we focus on one piece of time in a lot of cases. But she said, those locations had wonderful times too, like, Christmas mornings and birthdays and, happy times too. And so those things are also there too. So, I think it is important to understand a history of a place, but not to go in with that preconception as well. of course, when you go into a location where something horrible happened, you're just going to be thinking, this is the horrible happening place, and there's got to be horrible here, and maybe there is, or at least part of it. But I think it's sorry, Brent, stupid voice text. Oh, I don't know.
Texting through voice.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. But I think it's important also to not go into a location and go, everything that happens, you don't attribute it to the historical figure. It's like, well, this is Bill Brady's house, and this is where, he ended his life or whatever. And so anything happens, well, Bill, is that you? Are you there? Bill. And so you got this ghost named Phil. It's like, Bill's not here. What the hell? Well, he's not talking to me, and goes somewhere else, So I think you got to go into those things with an open mind, because we don't know that those same presences are what linger in a place. You can certainly try to talk to those, and you may have success, but you may also be talking to something else completely, and it may not understand what the hell you're talking about. So
that's true. I mean, when you think about it, if assuming, let's just assume for this example that if you don't believe reincarnation's a thing and everybody's their own entity and all that, and everyone's their own life, wouldn't that say that there are potentially trillions of souls around,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's potentially possible. I mean, I can't pretend to know how the spiritual dynamics of the universe work, but there certainly seems to be at least imprints of some personalities around, and possibly billions or whatever. I don't know how many people there have been in the history of the earth, but
and spirits can come and go. So I mean, it's not like
sure,
others, like you're saying, spirits can't be in a specific area and only one is there. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
So new chatter, Wank Shaftesbury. How do you feel about mediums in general? I honestly think there's some incredibly talented people. I really do. I think some people truly have a gift. I think everybody is psychic, and I really do believe that we all have that just built into us in some level or manner, and some people are just born with that just really cranked on, and they never lose it, and they just keep this ability to have an open channel of communication, or at least a pretty good channel of communication. Now, I think, honestly, that, and just being completely frank, and I'm not casting any aspersions at anybody, because, again, I think everybody has the ability to have those gifts present in their life, but not everybody's born with them just turned on. You may have to develop it. But I think that there are also plenty of people claiming to have these incredible gifts that may not be as gifted as they like to pretend. And it's tough to know which is which, but I've known a lot of genuine psychics in my life, and I've known several who I didn't feel were nearly as gifted as they thought they were. And that's just me, and that's my own judgment. I could be absolutely wrong, but it's just, I don't think I think it's a blanket term that gets used a lot, and it probably isn't quite as common as some people would like to suggest. As far as true mediumship, I do know that from what I understand of it, I'm not a medium and have never aspired to be. I don't want to channel things through me. But I do think that it's a very taxing thing to be a medium, that when you're having something acting through you, it's a very exhausting process for them. But, to each his own, and that's just me on the outside looking in. So I personally wouldn't want to develop any kind of mediumship abilities personally. But for those that do or have, and they enjoy that and use it to help people, that's wonderful. But I think there are genuine mediums for sure. But I think there's a lot of people wearing that label that maybe aren't quite as qualified as they'd like to pretend. So I don't know if that's right. Yeah, and Deb is one of those. Deb can tune into the mediumship part, but Generally, she just does psychic readings where she's communicating with her guides and not channeling things through. She doesn't, she's one of the people that told me about how it's very taxing. And I believe it is. Yep. It's easy peasy, just thoughts. Well, maybe. I mean, if you're truly channeling something, though, you're actually drawing it into you. There's, so if you're just getting psychic impressions, then it's just thoughts, and that's more of a psychic reading. But if you're actually being a medium, you are trying to channel that presence, that intelligence, through you to act through your body. So that's my take on it. But again, there are no experts. I don't pretend to know it for sure, but that's my take on it. I'm not sure if there's any medium who has solved a crime. Well, allegedly there are. I don't know them personally, or at least I don't think I do. I've seen people claiming that they get called in on crimes and such, and fantastic if they can divine some clues or things that may help with that. That's wonderful. But I don't know. I can't speak to that personally. I just don't know. I don't have any desire to do that either. I do go with my gut feelings. Yeah, the empathy is, I think, what most of us have as far as a spiritual awareness or a psychic awareness is most common, is that we have this gut feelings, these empathies. We can just feel when things aren't right. And that's, really one of the best things I ever heard in my life was trust your gut. Mm-hmm. And I do. I really do. I've lived my life by it. And usually it leads me well. I mean, it usually leads me pretty well. I guarantee it's taxing. Yeah, I think it would be. So anyway, I want to be able to hear back, especially since Dad passed. Well, I can appreciate that. That would be more of, if you want to hear, it's clairaudience. It's developing that. And one of the best piece of advice that I've ever heard was given by Deb, and she said one of the greatest ways to just get into your abilities is to meditate, and that's like age-old advice, going back in a lot of different esoteric practices, religious practices as well. So, definitely if you want to tune into those subtler energies, or at least things that they may not be subtle, but just in our awareness they're more subtle, then you got to quiet your mind. You got to learn how to quiet yourself to receive. Otherwise, if your mind's too busy, you're never going to be able to hear much. So you got to learn how to turn that off. Use a combination of gut feeling and evidence to back it up before taking action in some circumstances. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. There have been times in the past where I had a bad feeling about something, like, but I really want to. And then I realized later why I had the feeling. It's like, oh, okay.
I remember warning you about some things.
Yes, and I didn't listen.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm glad you're growing into that wisdom in your advancing age. Yeah.
Yep.
It's sometimes we are just bound and determined to learn our own lessons. So.
Oh yeah, it was a painful one.
Dog Digger says Sheldon over in Rumble.
Oh my God, I don't have Rumble up. No. Thank you for the reminder.
Well, there you go.
I had a feeling I was missing something. See, there you go.
There
we go, right there.
There it is.
God.
It's good to see all you guys over on Rumble. And good to see all you guys over here on YouTube. Sheldon, why don't you do shout outs on I can do Rumble because I can see the people chatting. It's
you got your Rumbles.
Lucky Gypsy, I'm there, Sheldon's there, Justin Gooder's there, and Dog Digger's over there. Over in the Rumbles. Let me look at Twitch to see what in the heck is, if anything's going on over there. Where is it? There it is. My tabs are all scrunched, so I had to really dig in there. See what's going on over in the Twitch. That's just, we got followed by QLD Blue over on Twitch 2 days ago.
Thank you.
And Laura Thorpe 14 days ago. So good. Good to see you guys. Thanks for following the show over on Twitch. If you're out there watching, just say hello or just follow the show. That'd be very appreciated. Okay, so who's on the YouTubes?
Now here on the tube, we got Annie Manuel, Aussie Tiger, Chucky Danger, David Barnes, Elaine Clifford, Jaron Daniels, John Temprine, Joseph Crow. Oh, I think that's a new name. Maybe. Hardwick Big D, Chris. Oh man, is it Cirque?
Cirque. It's just Chris backwards. It's Chris forwards and then Chris backwards, but I always say Cirque.
I like that. Okay, cool. Chris. We got Karen Alberding, Kat Doherty, Maggie M10, or Omar Corona. You're here. Rachel's here. Smoking Guns, Fab Shops here.
Oh, cool.
Wank Shaftesbury and Wizard Moon 13. Uh-oh, I'm seeing new names. Grateful Owl. Hey, welcome in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Chucky Danger, I think I said.
Yeah, Chucky's here. Joseph Crow's here. Yep, you said that. Vincent
Sanchez is here.
Good to see you, Vince. Thank you so much for coming in.
Welcome in, guys.
Great to see all of you. Yeah,
If I missed
crikey.
you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you've been missed, we love you anyway.
Blame
All right.
me.
Don't blame anybody. It's just how it works. All right, so we're going to get into the cryptids here and just find out what the hell's going on there. Speaking of Grateful Owl.
Oh. Owlman?
She made this. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the cryptids. We're getting into the cryptids, ladies, the cryptid corner and gentlemen. I said ladies and then I forgot to say gentlemen.
Just the ladies. No
Just the
gentlemen today.
ladies, gentlemen, sit quietly. It's ladies' night here on the portal. We're going to get into the cryptid corner and find out just what the hell I got pulled up for you over here. And there's bunches. There is just bunches. All right.
Smeagol on the right. It's not Smeagol.
Smeagol. Smeagol. Well, that was Gollum's name, right?
Yes.
Yep. Got
It's
it.
Hobbit's name.
His hobbit name was Smeagol. That's right.
Smeagol.
All right, so we're going to get to starting off here. I do have to check one thing, though. Let me do this quick. Maybe. Let me do this first, because I got to refresh something. I just want to see if I missed anything on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Oh. What does Wes have cooking?
Well, I mean, oh, there's one. There's one. I might save it for tomorrow night, though. If it's just one. Yeah.
Hey, Grateful Owl, thank you for the membership.
Oh, thankful. She remembered. Grateful Owl remembered. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we're going to head over to Phantoms and Monsters. And I've got several of them. Here's one. It's maybe not cryptid related, but it sounds creepy related. And so it's definitely in our wheelhouse. Now, again, Phantoms and Monsters is an incredible site. It's been run by Lon Strickler for years and years. It's really one of those pillars of our community. And I encourage you guys to head over there and check it out. There's literally thousands of accounts of people seeing and having experiences with ghosts, cryptids, strange phenomena, UFOs, etc. So it's a wellspring of activity and information over there. Again, I'm a big fan of people's experiences because it's our opportunity to look through their eyes and learn something about this phenomena. And right now, it's the only real consistent evidence we have is people's experiences. So, I think it's very powerful. But anyway, this is a story from Phantoms and Monsters, and check it out. There's so much information over there, and also find Lon's his own podcast called Phantoms and Monsters Radio, which is also a YouTube channel, and you can check it out. Lon does live streams and does a fantastic job. He's the guy that writes these stories and publishes these stories, and he likes to dig into them, and he usually does a lot of back research on these as well that he can go into on his streams that I can't touch. So he's the best source for all of this stuff. But anyway, let's get to this first story. It's from Wednesday, June 19th of this year. And here it is. Let me go here. There we go. Help spelled out Letters floating on water at Devil Lake State Park in Wisconsin. Do you know where Devil Lake State Park is over there?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm gonna look it up though. I'm curious now.
Yep. Well, here you go. And this is help spelled out. So let's see what happens. Two brothers were jumping off a rock at Devil's Lake State Park. When, it says, Wisconsin. When they were noticed letters floating on the water below that spelled help. Well, it creeped them out and they never returned. And Lon says, I received the following creepy account. While I was growing up, my family would visit the same lake, which is Devil Lake State Park, Wisconsin, every year for a week each summer. Well, as we got older, we would visit a large rock and jump off into the lake. The rock was only 15 feet tall, only. That's still a long ways from the water, at the highest point, but the water was really deep. When we got older, we would jump in and try to touch the bottom, but we never could. When my brother and I were in our teens, we took our kayaks out to the rock to jump on our own, and we jumped off several times. And then we got too cold, and we took a break on top of the rock to warm up in the sun. Well, as we were sitting there, we noticed a white shape in the water floating towards the surface. It was the letter H. Eventually, it sank back into the water, and we lost sight of it. And before we could look away or say anything, another shape was floating upwards, and it was the letter E. Eventually, it too sank below, but it was soon followed by two more letters, L and P. I don't know what the letters were made of. It kind of seemed like floating paint or foam. We didn't jump in after that. We stood up and left without saying a word. We never returned. We never mentioned it to anyone, and I forgot it even happened after a while. Several years ago, I was working as a camp counselor, and I told this story as a ghost story. I'd forgotten about it and texted my older brother to see if I hadn't just made it up completely. I asked him if he remembered the time we went to the jumping rock alone and saw something in the water, and he replied yes. And he did remember. And I asked him what it was, and in his reply, letters. They spelled help. And that's it. So, what is that? Do you think that could be the possible somebody who drowned in that lake?
Or it was a warning for them not to go in by a guardian.
Maybe. That's a good point.
Maybe something was going to happen to them.
Yep. Maybe it was like, don't help the demon in the water. Don't help feed that monster down there. Yeah, that's creepy, though. Just the word help. That kind of stuff, it kind of makes you feel sad, though. It's like something wants help, but how do you help?
It's a little depressing in that way.
Right. I mean, it sounds like a message like, help me. But it's like
an unsolved mystery, an unsolved murder case. You never know.
Did you find out where this was?
Yes, it's southern Wisconsin, about 218 miles from me.
Oh, okay. Well, it'd be interesting to know, though, it's like how many people have drowned there, if anybody drowned right by that spot, because that'd be like the classic, the spirit still lingers, looking for help. And maybe it's possible through, prayer or some other form of releasing ritual to help them make their transition. Yikes. That's sad, though. It's kind of tragic to think there are people that may be just stuck in that limbo.
I might have there's an article here that said Devil's Lake homicide remains unsolved after 2 years. Wisconsin, Devil's Lake.
What year was that article?
2022.
Because we don't know when this was, but it sounds like it was many years ago. So, because this is when they were teenagers, and then as an adult, he was working as a counselor himself and told that as a ghost story. So this sounds like it would be a little older, but...
Oh, never mind. It was 2020 is when an actual occurrence happened. Oh, wait. Oh, 1995.
That could be it then. That's possible.
Oh, this one's 1995. Yeah.
Okay. Well...
Unsolved mystery. Ooh.
Here's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, and this is something that always occurs to me. If you're ever going somewhere and it starts with devils, anything, you might not have a fun time.
Yeah.
I mean, why the hell would they call it Devil Lake? You know, I mean, if it was a good happy place, who the hell came up with Devil Lake? You know, it's like,
Apparently, this lake's had multiple murders around it. I'm just saying.
yeah, maybe there's a
Jeez.
reason it's called Devil Lake. You might not want to go swimming. I'm just saying. You know, it's there is sometimes a history there, and sometimes it goes back to the First Nations. You know, the indigenous people had places that they would call like Devil's Peak and Devil's Hill and stuff in their own language, of course, but it would translate as, you know, maybe as Devil's Lake. Well, why? That's not a happy place then, right? There's a place really near here. It's called Spirit Lake. And there's been lots of devil's lettuce. Yeah, that's not a good thing either, apparently. Unless it's apparently good in cookies, so I'm just going to say.
Brownies, you mean?
Well, anything really. You can bake it in anything, and it'll as long as you eat them warm out of the oven. Apparently, it's plenty fun. Devil's lettuce, isn't that devilish? It might be. Depends on your perspective, you know. Devil's lettuce. I don't know who came up with that, but that's hilarious. I don't think they were trying to be hilarious. Maybe it was really some religious zealot, but it's like, God, that's funny as hell. Devil's lettuce. Anyway. Let's go to the next article here while I figure out what that article is. Let's see what it is.
Maggie said there's a Devil's Gap near me where someone said they saw Yowie. I think it was on a
Yes.
Sasquatch.
On Sasquatch Chronicles, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Could be. Devil's Gap. Yep, Sasquatch Chronicles. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But again, you know, I mean, the First Nations, they knew these areas better than any of us probably ever could, because they have generations and generations of history to draw on and experience. And if there is a place where bad things always happened, it's probably the places that got these names. I'm just saying. So it's not like Angel's Folly. It's like, nope, it's Devil's Pit from Hell. Yeah, let's not vacation there, kids. I don't think that's...
You do have a good point, though. With like, you know, like as much history as like we have here, you know, from the First Nations to us. Now, it's hard to know like what's trying to reach out when you think about all that history that could be in the earth.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, back where you grew up in on the river there. You know, when you turn off the highway, there's that pond right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what the name of that pond is historically?
No.
Devil's Pond.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
It is. And that was always a creepy place for me. We never ever went over by there. And I didn't know that until many years later. But I always just knew that it didn't feel comfortable over there. And I didn't know. It was an intuitive thing. But yeah, we always stayed away from there. All of us. We never played there. We played on the other side in the creek area. I mean, we were all over those woods as kids. But that area by that pond, none of us ever went over there. So...
You know something I wonder about, and now I'm thinking about it.
What's that?
I wonder if there are areas that have like a bad energy to them to the point where even animals avoid it.
I don't know. I mean, the animals are all over in there, but yeah, I'm sure there is. But that Devil's Pond is not real far from you know, what is about a couple miles away from where I was growled at, you know.
Oh, true.
And about a mile and a quarter from where we found that structure. So
interesting. Maybe that's the reason why.
Maybe. It could be. I don't pretend to know for sure. Let's see.
Fascinating, though.
I don't know if we read this one. I'm just trying to glance through it quick. No, I don't think so. No, I think we did. It looks familiar. I'm just gonna glance through this quick because it's a black-eyed kid story, And I don't always close these after I read them, so I gotta recheck just to make sure that I'm not feeding you leftovers. I think I'm gonna stick. I think we'll read it because Black-Eyed Kid stories are good anyway, and they're few and far between. They don't come up much, but they do come up. And are they a cryptid? Well, maybe, but they're maybe spiritual as well, or something else entirely. I don't know. Maybe they're alien. It's one of those phenomena that's real hard to quantify because it doesn't really, it's kind of seems like its own thing. It doesn't really sound like a creature because it's very human-like. It doesn't sound like it's necessarily physical because sometimes they're seen here and then a blink they're somewhere else, like, many yards away. They've been reportedly able to move incredible distances, hundreds of yards or 100 yards in just a blink of an eye. So it seems like maybe they're more energetic than actually physical, or maybe they're both. And they don't necessarily, there's never any UFOs reported in the proximity of them that I recall hearing, but maybe they are extraterrestrial. It's hard to know what the hell they are. But at any rate, it is an interesting phenomena, and it does seem to have, at least part of the phenomena has its roots in what we understand as the vampire phenomena, with the permission needed to enter and stuff like that. So, yeah. And they do seem to feed off of something. Maybe they're, a true form of energy vampire. We don't know. Mm-hmm. So whatever the case is, let's read this. And I apologize if it's one I've already covered. I just don't remember. It's been up here for a while. It's from July 1st, and it's Black-Eyed Kids. So it says, threatened and scared by two black-eyed kids from Phantoms and Monsters.com. So let's get into this. And again, I apologize if this is if I'm giving you leftovers here, but it's still a good story. A college-age man is home in South Carolina during spring break, and while mowing a woman's lawn, he's accosted by two black-eyed kids who scare and threaten him, demanding to be allowed into the house. Oh, that's pretty forward. Well, this happened to me a few months ago. I'm a freshman in college here in South Carolina. When my spring break started, instead of going to some crazy beach during the COVID-19 scare, I spent my week off at home. Because winter ended so early, I found myself mowing lawns about a month earlier than usual. I drove to an elderly woman's house to mow, and I'd mowed for her for 4 years now, and I used to live down the street from her, but I had since moved away. Well, I kept the job because mowing is great money for little work, and she'd been diagnosed with cancer and has not been doing well, in and out of the hospital, so I knew how to let myself in the garage, through the back to open up the garage door. I did it once around the outside of the house, picking up sticks and lifting downspouts. I even threw a Nerf football back into the neighbor's yard, and I went back into the front yard. It was just a beautiful day outside. I'd lived there for my whole childhood, so I stood out in the driveway, just taking it all in. There was a couple in their backyard and a few people walking, and everything else was so peaceful and quiet. Because of COVID-19, very few people were out and about. A perfect afternoon, and I didn't think anything like this would happen. I saw my old next-door neighbors outside, and being the socially awkward person that I am, I wanted to avoid conversation, plus adhere to social distancing. I put my face mask on and then started the mower. Popped my headphones in and pushed it into the backyard. And it was a big backyard with 3 trees, 2 gardens, and an oddly shaped bench that was extremely hard to maneuver around. I was at least used to these things, having dealt with them for years. Well, someone's by the camera and someone's by me. Okay. I see nothing, but they apparently might be here. Let's see. It was a big backyard. I was at least used to these things, having dealt with them for years, and I was just getting into my groove when I saw a kid out of the corner of my eye. He was just standing in the backyard, and I don't know how long he'd been there or how he'd even made his way without me seeing him. I jumped, as I was not used to ever being disturbed while mowing. I pulled my headphones out, and he just looked at me from across the yard. He looked pretty normal from where I was standing. It seemed a little hot to be wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, but I didn't think anything of it. He was a male and looked to be about 13 years old, but I'm horrible with guessing ages. I looked at him for a couple of seconds before I realized he wasn't going to say anything this far away, so I reluctantly turned off the mower. My senses were already working overtime, besides the ringing in my ears, when the kid asked, "Can you help us?" Us? I think to myself. There's more than one? I get the butterflies in my stomach because my keys, my wallet, and my cell phone were all left out in the garage. I wanted to reduce my pocket weight, and I hurried to the front, and there was a second boy there, younger than the first, by a few years. He didn't move his feet, he just kept his eyes on me. Honestly, don't care about how they were standing or looking. I made a beeline for my valuables, and I made sure nothing was taken. I turned around with everything sorted out in my pockets, and I almost jumped again. They'd closed in on me and were looking up at me. And that's when I saw that they had those damn black eyes. I felt so small, so mortal. Those eyes. That's all it took for me to realize I wasn't in charge as I thought I was. "Can you help us?" the older boy asks. "We're thirsty and our dad wants to know where we are." My head is just spinning. I've read the stories before. I know what they're up to, but I can't hide. It isn't my house. There's a water fountain just across the street. I already know what they're going to say. "Just please let us inside. We've been outside all day and we're very thirsty. You need to let us in." And I said no. I was trying so hard not to look at them in the eyes. I knew I shouldn't, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to describe them, so I just caught a glimpse of the little ones, pitch black, unblinking. I immediately thought I could hear his voice in my head, even though I'd never heard it. It was almost as if I was arguing with myself. I was fighting the voice as I was slowly taking steps back in the garage. These kids didn't move forward. They didn't say anything else. They just stared. And I kept walking, a foot at a time. Finally, I was close enough to hit the button to close the garage door. I could still see their feet unmoving as the door slowly closed completely, forcing me into darkness. For about 3 seconds, I was relieved that I escaped. And then I realized I was trapped. I can't get into the main part of the lady's house, and I can't go back out the front. The only option is to leave through the back door that is always left unlocked, the one I came in through. I went to check for what I came with when I realized that my keys, which I clearly remember shuffling into my pocket earlier, are now in the palm of my hand. It dawns on me that I can't even remember it, but I almost gave them my keys. This is too much for me to handle. And the darkness of the garage wasn't helping, so I opened the door and the sunlight washes over me. I felt so happy. It left me unprepared for what happened next. I closed the door and then turned the corner to make my way to the front, and the oldest was alone, blocking my path. He screamed at me, "I asked nicely, let us in!" I spun around and bolted into the backyard. I didn't look back to see if I was being chased. I ran past the tree, past the mower I'd left out, and I knew that the little one would be ready to meet me around the corner, and sure enough, he was there. And this side yard was more narrow than the first. I put on a burst of speed, and I knocked the kid down. I was about to feel bad until he tried to bite my hand as I pushed him. The little bastard tried to bite me. I ran for a few more strides, so close to my car parked on the street, when I stopped. There was no traffic. Nobody had called my name. There was no reason for me to stop, except I did. The little boy was crying. I'd never heard somebody cry like that. It was crystal clear, like it was coming from my headphones. I turned around and he was sitting up, sobbing. I wanted to walk back and help him and apologize. I wanted to open the garage and find a way in the house to let him use the phone. I wanted to do everything in my power to help him. "Let us in. We need the house," he said through tears. Almost brainwashed a second time by an 8-year-old. I couldn't believe it. I shook it off one last time and ran into my car. I locked the doors, and I didn't look back until I was in a completely different street. I had hand sanitizer in my car and spread that crap all over myself. I didn't know if those 2 kids were infected or what. I called the lady's house to tell her I hadn't finished and that I could be back tomorrow. Thankfully, she must not have been home. At least she didn't answer. That's the end of the story. Wow. That's creepy. I've never heard one where the kids cried. Ever.
Yeah.
Pretty diabolical, though, doesn't it sound like it?
Yes.
Very,
Very creepy.
very, very creepy stuff. Absolutely. So that's that one. And I don't know, I hadn't read it before, so I'm glad we did read it. I did not read that one before. What was this one? Oh, God. We got to read this one.
Oh.
This one looks good. I pulled this one up. This is from July 1st. This one looks really good. I've not read something like this before. I don't know what this story is going to detail, but I just saw it and went, ooh, what? Okay. Well, I guess if you're going to meet a deity of death, this kind of makes sense that you'd meet him there. So, I don't know. Again, another one sliced in half and rubbed with olive oil. Oh, is this it's a dessert or recipe time in the chat?
Oh, God.
I don't think she's talking about black-eyed kids. I think she's actually talking about food.
Roast the kids over a fire. Slice the kid in half and jeez.
To me, they're like little cabbages. Are you guys twisted? What's going on? I don't think we're talking about black-eyed kids here. At least I hope not.
Rachel turns cannibal.
I don't know if it counts if you eat a black-eyed kid. Maybe they're good. I don't know. You guys are talking recipes, and I look, and it's like you're talking about grilling black-eyed kids or something. Now I'm afraid of my chat.
They're worse than the kids.
I know. You know, you got to look at it from my perspective. I just got done reading a story. And then I look up and you're talking about cutting them in half and putting them on a baking sheet. Like, yeah. I don't know you people.
Timing is perfect.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Beck's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There you go, Elaine. Could be a diet food. You never know. Falls off the bone tender. Oh, you're just twisted. They do say baby back ribs.
Oh, God.
Yes, we're a twisted group here, folks. It's just a strange place. It's a strange place here in the portal, but we love you guys.
Paranormal.
I actually kind of like that we got done with the story and it looked like the chat was even more horrifying than the story.
Yeah, actually.
It's like, ooh, wait, let's read the chat. Oh, come on. You can use the phone, but get in the hot pit first.
The Hansel and Gretel were black-eyed kids.
Yeah, that's some Cannibal Corpse stuff. Yeah, no kidding. You guys are twisted. I had no idea. Here I'm singing your praises to everybody. All right. Let's get to the next one. This one's a God of Death from phantomsandmonsters.com. God of Death. U.S. soldiers encounter demon humanoid on Iraq military base. Oh, yeah, I bet.
Wait, say it again?
Okay, God of Death. U.S. soldiers encounter demon humanoid on Iraq military base.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you're going to see something like that, I bet you they would hang out in war zones, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is pretty cool. A U.S. Serviceman stationed at a base in Iraq recalls a tall, dark demon humanoid that had infiltrated the facility. The locals called it the God of Death. I received the following account. Wow. Man, that's a hell of an account to receive. I'm recalling my friend's story to the best of my ability, and this is all classified according to him. He was stationed at a base in Iraq. The base was surrounded by a wall and had guard posts at various locations around the wall and one or two other locations where soldiers would keep post, including barracks. There's also a big abandoned warehouse on the base that was not being used. It had huge heavy doors that opened outward from the middle, which were always closed, and soldiers had to walk past this warehouse when switching posts. Well, one night when my buddy was in his barracks, gunshots went off. Everyone rushed to get geared up and figure out what was going on. Once they figured out the gunshots came from inside the base, they went to the location of the shots. 2 soldiers were posted up, guns pointed to the old warehouse, and were freaked out. One of the doors to the warehouse was pushed slightly open. They yelled at the 2 soldiers to see what was going on, but the guys didn't budge. They said that something big and black was just running inside of that warehouse. Once they calmed the 2 guys down, they did a sweep of the warehouse and found nothing. It took 2 soldiers to push the doors shut again. The next night, there was screaming coming from inside the warehouse.
1501.
1501. Okay. I don't know what that means, but that's what the ghost box says. So they did a sweep and nothing. The next night, more screams. On the third night, another group of soldiers shifting locations opened fire. They basically had the same story as the first group, and they said it was fast and basically moved faster than they could aim and shoot. Again, the door was pushed open. Took 2 guys to close it. After this went on for a while and the soldiers were found mentally healthy, a bigger investigation was set up, and they pointed some special cameras at the entrance to the warehouse, set up some guys outside, and waited for something to happen. Well, one night the door was pushed open on camera, and there was basically a demon that stepped out and started screaming bloody murder. The guards opened fire, and the thing sprinted faster than humanly possible back inside the warehouse. Both doors were flung open, and the thing just screamed. More soldiers came and did a sweep. Nothing. Around this time, the soldiers at the base started to piece a few things together. They had always known that a village near the base had a curfew, and no one stayed out of their house past nightfall. So some went to investigate why, and long story short, the villagers told them that there was a god of death in the area, and they dared not stay out past nightfall. Around the time they learned this, a special team came in with more equipment. Some bigger gunners were sent in, including my buddy with special recording equipment. And they dragged the big double doors open and set up inside the warehouse. It was pitch black, but they could see with their equipment. And they set up so 2 guys sat facing each other, making a square of 4 guys total. About 4 hours went by without anything happening, and then the guy across from my buddy started making a hand signal. He was signaling that something was behind my friend. The guy to the right of my buddy was dozing off, and another soldier across from my buddy was perfectly still. My buddy did a 180 from his chair to a crouch position, giving room for him and the guy across from him to open fire. And he said when he turned around, he just saw this demon humanoid around 9 feet tall with piercing eyes and as menacing as possible. When he opened fire, the thing was so fast, it basically teleported to the side and up the wall until it was on the ceiling. Well, they continued to open fire, but the thing was fast, and kept appearing behind each of the soldiers, endangering them. And eventually, the soldiers got the equipment and abandoned the building. The cameras apparently captured everything. My friend was debriefed and told never to speak of it again, and the building was demolished. The villagers related the demon to an old mass grave near the base, which, after the events above, was dug up and everyone was given a proper burial. I, without a doubt, did not recall everything correctly, but his version is way more detailed. The way my buddy tells this story is so convincing and detailed that it's hard not to believe him. But the story is so incredible that it's very hard to believe at the same time. I wish I could get him to type it out because it's simply amazing. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Now, I've heard other stories coming from Afghanistan and apparently Iraq from the time of the the ongoing military conflicts and stuff. But there was some people were reporting like these large human-sized insect beings that look like people from a distance, but when they got closer, they definitely weren't. And they would only come out at night in the desert. Some people reported these vampire-like things in the desert of Afghanistan, which looked like cloaked people and were quick. And the locals said that they were like a vampire. So jinn, yeah, could be jinn. That's a good point, Chucky. It's hard to say. Yeah.
Wow.
With encounters like this, it seems that culture and regions have specific manifestations. That's a frightening prospect, considering certain cultural beliefs in certain countries. Yeah, no, there's no question of that. Like in like Thailand, I think has an apparition that's a foreboding of very bad things, and it's a little girl in like a red dress, and it's often sighted before someone's going to die. And then, of course, the Samara character from like the Ring. That's very common in Japanese and Asian cultures. This haggard-looking woman with long, drapey hair. That's very regional in Asia, and you don't hear these things outside of those places. Now, I would state that maybe part of the manifestations is the fact that the people seeing them have a cultural filter. And perhaps these phenomena appear in ways that the people will understand. Like if it's something like a negative omen, maybe it'll appear like that little girl in the red dress because it's giving a foreboding of something to come. Or maybe it's, something that they're very locally terrified of. So if an entity wanted to scare people, for whatever reason, it feeds off fear or it's preying on people, it would probably pick the figure that would give them the most terror. So, perhaps in some places that means a 9-foot demon, I don't know, just some ideas. But I think the thing to remember is that these experiences, the one big common denominator is that we are the observers. People are observing this stuff, and I think that this stuff is filtered through our consciousness in a sense. Maybe we're not ever seeing the true form of these things, maybe it's even black-eyed kids for that matter, but we're seeing a representation through our own filters, like our mind is filtering it in a way that we can understand it. So, I don't know. Just something to think about. I honestly think we all have the same entities, but different names and cultural looks or whatever. Basically the same thing wherever, just different culturally. Yeah, I think so. I don't know that there are unique entities in different regions. I suppose it's possible. But what if it's, universal? These energies are universal, but they pick a form, kind of like the Boggarts on Harry Potter. They pick a form that's going to give you the most reaction. So, possible.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, kind of like you're saying, what things out there are really just one entity taking a form versus what is kind of separate, its own thing. Like
Sure.
Sasquatch, I think, are its own thing. But, I mean, there's the thing like the insectoids, like those really weird stories out there that makes you wonder.
Yeah.
They,
It is weird. It is weird. Andy Manil says, jinn aren't necessarily hostile. Some live amongst humans and even marry into families. Yeah, there's lots of legends. The jinn were apparently made of the blue flame, and they predate the creation of humans in Islamic literature. Like they were made long before people were. Like there was the angels and the jinn, and then came people. And the jinn didn't like that much. So, but the Min lights here in Australia are called Will o' the Wisp here in the UK, or Hunky Punk in Cornwall. I've heard of Will o' the Wisp many times. Actually, it's kind of interesting because the first time I ever heard that was in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
But
here.
but yeah, I did know that it was an actual phenomena. I don't know how the Dungeons and Dragons version relates to the real one, but as far as just little balls of light, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hinky, not hunky. Oh, it's the hinky punk, not the hunky punk.
Okay. Hinky punks and Harry
Hunky
Potter.
punks are just really good looking hinky punks.
Yeah, hunky.
I yip every time I see a man bun. Yeah, there's a reality check for you. Funky monkeys. Yeah, they might be out there too, David. Never know. Could be. I thought you were going to sleep. What happened?
Yeah.
It's just too damn good to fall asleep to. That's what I'm thinking. The hunky punk. Golly, I guess we made it.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, folks. We made it through a whole episode, and it just blew by. I don't know. I had a good time. Did you have a good time, Sheldon?
Every time I have a good time.
Well, good. I'm glad you made it. In Japan, any object that reaches 100 years old may get a spirit called a kami. Oh, that's interesting. Kamehameha.
Haha.
Dragon Balls. Sorry.
Yeah.
Had to go there. All right, folks. But you are too entertaining. Aw, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Well, whatever the case, I'm just glad you guys have been here. Thank you so much. Sorry I go on these soapboxes so often. I hope that's okay. I always plan to do things, but then I end up yapping a lot. So I hope that's okay with you
fine.
guys.
It's good to yap.
That's interesting about Jen, Barbara says. Good to see you, Barbara. I'm glad you came in. I didn't see you come in at first. We hate pushy children, she said earlier. Yeah, those black-eyed kids are pushy kids. Yep. But anyway, yeah, creepy. Who's it coming for? Jinn. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing about that demon story is like, was it there for a reason? Maybe it was there. Maybe it was a manifestation of the agony of war. You think about it. All of the death that's inevitable in wars, and the suffering, and the pain. Maybe it summons things like that. So maybe it's not even a dark, horrible entity. Maybe it's just a manifestation of the pain that has been created by war.
Tulpa in a way.
Maybe, but I don't. Yeah, it would be more of a side effect rather than. Well, I guess tulpas can be either intentional or side effects, like poltergeists. I think are a kind of tulpa in a sense. But yeah, I don't know. Very interesting stuff. So I guess it's going to wrap it up for us tonight. I hope you guys had a good time. So I'll be here, you and me, all of you and all of me will be here tomorrow night. Unless you're not busy, Sheldon, you're welcome to join us as well, always. But, huh?
So of course.
Of course. But I'll be back tomorrow night with our Saturday show. I'd love to see you guys. And you can certainly join us and take part of the conversation. Again, Cade won't be here, but we'll get him roped into one of these episodes and bring him back into the portal. So until then, just want y'all to know. Sheldon, anything first in closing?
Of course there is. Guys, don't forget, discord.gg/paranormal portal is our Discord link. Great discussions, great threads, as always. Amazing community, as well as paranormalportal.net, where you can stay up to date on all the new posts and news from the new podcasts and episodes. And if you have an amazing story, something that happened to you recently or forever ago, feel free. You can even set up your own interview.
Absolutely. Just click interview me over on paranormalportal.net if you got stories to tell and wouldn't mind being a guest on the podcast. I'd love to talk to you guys. So, but that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do these live streams Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, always right here on wherever you're watching it. So just tune in those nights, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be here to do my best to entertain you. But that's all I got for you tonight. So remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time, folks, I bid you well. Good night.
Good night.